a handful of centralized entities have a stronghold on the web, deciding what should and should not be allowed. And so Web3 is the answer to this dilemma. Basically, Web3 puts the power in the hands of the individuals rather than the corporations. Web3 isn't a technology, it's a choice. But in its current state, Web3 is a difficult space to explore without getting carried away by the hype or spiraling into pessimism. So in an effort to toe the line between those two, let's explore some of the most promising Web3 projects out there. Welcome to ReadySetCrypto. This is your brain on blockchain. So the first is Optimism, or OP. And this is a brand new token that was recently airdropped. Now, what Optimism is about is being a DAO, or decentralized autonomous organization, which are essentially blockchain-based groups that collectively make decisions, typically using the DAO's native token to do so. And in this case, the Optimism Collective will be tasked with taking revenue created from Optimism's transaction fees and transforming it into grants for public goods, things that aren't owned by individuals, such as infrastructure like utilities, public transportation, and clean air. And there's also public goods in the digital world with open source software and content. And they aim to use public goods funding as feeding into a flywheel effect for Web3, and essentially baking in ESG goals into the operation of the network rather than keeping them separate. And moving along, we have Kusama, or KSM. Basically, they believe that you don't need to reinvent social networks or other kinds of networks in order to bring them into the Web3 era. You just need to change the foundation that they're built on. And something else to note is that Gavin Wood, the co-founder of Ethereum and founder of Polkadot, is the one who created Kusama. So you know that there's some big brains behind this one. So next I want to talk about Oasis Network, or ROSE. Now, one of the coolest things about Oasis is that in 2022, Oasis Network is showing up in more VC portfolios than any other project that I found. And considering that its market cap ranked 175, that's pretty crazy. What Oasis is about is privacy-enabled smart contracts. And that's cool for a couple of reasons. The first is private DEXs, which is good for any traders not wanting to have their trading activity broadcast out. The second is that they're making it possible for smart contracts to analyze user data without actually exposing that data. And finally, Oasis seeks to establish a data marketplace where you're able to be rewarded for your data. So I think Oasis is building real-world Web3 solutions for data and privacy in a time when those things are increasingly relevant and monetized. But moving along, I also want to talk about Ethereum Name Service, or ENS. Now, I think one of the pillars of the Web3 movement is ENS, because you're able to associate a public address with an easy to remember address. Rather than trying to have your friend send Ethereum to your really long public address, you just tell them to send to yourname.eth. And while that doesn't seem very complicated or significant today, I think this is some of the first steps into real digital identity and the sort of interoperability we are seeing between identity and finance evolving with blockchain and Web3 solutions. For those who are part of our Omnia service and subscribe to our Omnia newsletter, I described how ENS might be part of the next crypto hype cycle similar to NFTs, and how flipping ENS domain names could be really lucrative going forward. So if that's at all interesting, check out the link to join our service down in the bio below. And after that, I want to talk about Kadena, or KDA. Now, I think Kadena is potentially another Avalanche or Solana in that they're targeting the right sort of upcoming development trends, having recently launched a $100 million grant program to encourage Web3 development on their platform. They want to grow an ecosystem of gaming, metaverse, NFTs, DeFi, and Web3 projects. So next, I want to talk about Ocean Protocol, ticker Ocean. Ocean Protocol provides tools needed to build Web3 applications, so it's definitely a coin to check out if you're interested in this area. Ocean Protocol is also about decentralized data sharing and access on the internet. The Ocean token is used to stake, buy, and sell data, and is also used to govern community funding. It's also designed to increase as usage volume rises, and as we've seen over the last year, having scalable solutions like that is necessary for blockchain protocols going forward. Next up, I want to talk about Radicle, under the ticker RAD. And essentially, it's a decentralized open source platform for code collaboration. Smart contracts are used to manage access control, and ownership can be shared with multisigs. People use the RAD token to sponsor projects and participate in governance, and I think it's a good example of how Web3 is evolving the development process. After that, I want to talk about Arweave, under the ticker AR. Arweave is a decentralized storage network that lets you permanently store data in applications. Your data is stored on a collectively owned hard drive that never forgets, which is something increasingly relevant in a digital era. If you assist in maintaining Arweave's permaweb, you receive AR tokens as a reward. And so Arweave is a good example of how Web3 is about data permanence just as much as it is about data ownership. But another project that's demonstrating a tenet of Web3 is Evmos, under the ticker Evmos, because it's about interoperability, a core developing theme of Web3. Basically, with its mainnet launch, developers are easily able to build cross-chain applications, creating deep integrations between Ethereum and Cosmos, two of the biggest blockchain platforms in the space. Evmos is opening up a new frontier for blockchain applications by enabling developers to have the best of both worlds between Cosmos and Ethereum, letting them expand their functionality by enabling cross-chain applications that tap into the liquidity of user bases on multiple blockchain ecosystems, providing a more unified experience. This is why, going back to the start of the video, a lot of the complaints and criticisms of Web3 aren't really valid, because Web3, it's still nascent, it's still being built. And it's through the efforts of projects that we've discussed in this video, gives me hope that we can attract brilliant minds away from selling people ads in Web 2 to instead build a more equitable and cooperative future in Web 3. It's still very much the early days, but I want to hear what you think. What are some Web 3 projects that you're interested in? What are your thoughts on Web 3? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, thanks so much for watching the video. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to hit the bell. You know how it goes. But until the next one, take care out there. Cheers.